In January 2024, the United States announced that it would be withdrawing from Zimbabwe's debt clearing program with the African Development Bank (AFDB), and this decision was made due to the deteriorating human rights situation in the country and allegations of electoral fraud. These allegations were made by the Citizens Coalition for Change political party led by Nelson Chamisa. The Citizens Coalition for Change is calling for a dialogue between Mr. Mnangagwa and Mr. Chamisa to find a way forward that will restore the country's legitimacy. This could involve a transnational authority, reforms, and an election that is free, fair, and truly democratic. The Citizens Coalition for Change is determined to find a solution, but it will require real political will on the part of those in power. Without this, the current situation could continue until 2028 with devastating consequences for the country and its people. Promising Kwanzi, the spokesperson of the Citizens Coalition for Change, wrote on his X account that the U.S. has pulled out of Zimbabwe's AFDB debt clearing program due to gross human rights violations and electoral fraud. It is clear that Zimbabwe's legitimate crisis will continue to be a huge hindrance to Zimbabwe's ability to resolve its social and economic challenges. In that regard, we implore Mr. Mnangagwa to urgently seek dialogue with President Chamisa to soft-land the crisis and return the country to full legitimacy and progress. A way needs to be found to set Zimbabwe back on the path to legitimacy through dialogue, a transnational authority, comprehensive electoral, political and economic reforms leading to a fresh, free and fair election. As it stands, the country is on autopilot and Mr. Mnangagwa and his government may not be able to fraudulently hang on up to 2028. It is a bridge too far for the illegitimacy before us to stretch that far. We remain committed to finding a lasting solution to Zimbabwe's incessant electoral disputes and human rights violations that only require genuine political will to resolve. The tweet by Promising Kwanzi was made to some critics by other ex-users or his followers who stated that is actually good for Zimbabwe mates because the US was actually a hurdle in the negotiations. Don't you feel offended that the US is the stakeholder in an African Development Bank? A highly significant development that will put more pressure on the narrow shoulders of ED and its brand of crooks. Zim economy is cooked. Let them pull out. If anything, the US would rather see Zimbabwe suffering and failing to clear any day so they fade their own personal agendas. It wouldn't be surprising if the US was actually making it difficult for Zimbabwe, Africa to Africa, and Gaziende. At this level, given the current global dynamics and the obvious historical stance of America against liberation forces in Africa, it is not a badge of honor to be seen to be acquiescing yourself to the demands. You would do better as folks to keep quiet. Why is the US meddling in African Development Bank issues? This should be good news to Africans because Africans can now make their own decisions without any outside interference. Not to worry, our all-weather friend at Zim China will find in the gap.